Hello and welcome to the media. Let's start the press conference with the participation with the Prime Minister of Latvia and Jean-Claude Juncker. The interpretation is available. First of all, Prime Minister Laimdota Straujuma. President of the Commission, journalists, here in our we are at our National Library, and you see the flags at the entrance at half-mast. It is a moment when all of us in the EU can show that we are ready to defend the values of humanism. The values included in the slogan, liberty, equality and brotherhood. I ask all journalists and all people present to observe a minute of silence to commemorate the tragic death in France. Thank you. It is very difficult to start again discussing the topics that were on our agenda today. However, at the same time, I want to explain my satisfaction and joy with the fact that Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker is here today together with the vice presidents and commissioners, and that we had a chance to discuss with the Commission the priorities of the Latvian government. I am confident that Latvia will lead the presidency in an honest and just manner. With Mr. Juncker, we also discussed our Latvian presidency priorities, the meeting, the two of us. Amongst our priorities are digital agenda, competitiveness, and Europe in the world. As we discussed with Mr. Juncker, we won't be able to avoid dealing with matters related to internal security, terrorism, and related issues. Amongst the priorities of the Latvian presidency are also the question about the introduction of the investment plan. I believe that the fact that the Commission plans to adopt and introduce this plan testifies that we are focused on supporting our businesses. Introduction of the investment plan during the Latvian presidency, in my view, will be as one of the main achievements during our presidency. At the moment, we need to work on all the legislation necessary for introducing it. We also discussed matters related to the digital agenda as a priority. And to the third priority, which is engaged Europe. We discussed the neighborhood relations, the free trade agreements, which are essential for the Latvian presidency. I am truly glad to realize that the priorities that the Latvian government has set fully correspond with the priorities of the Commission. I look forward to a fruitful cooperation with the Commission and the Commission President, and I hope that the ambitious plans will bear fruits at the end of our presidency. We all want to achieve a modern and forward-looking Europe. Thank you.
Yes, Latvia's Minister President.
Thank you. The floor goes to the Commission President, Jean-Claude Juncker.
Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, Europe today, after the attack which was committed yesterday in Paris, is really very much in mourning. and that is why I asked for flags to be flown at half-mast in front of buildings of the Commission. And I've seen that the other two institutions, the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers, have done the same. We are very moved and very moved indeed after what happened yesterday afternoon in Paris. And our thoughts are with the families of the victims. This was an attack which led to the deaths of 12 people, and it was also an attack against our way of life, our way of living together, and Europe needs to react in consequence of that. But also we need to remain calm. I'm very pleased to be here in Lithuania, in Latvia. The last time which I came here was in April during the electoral campaign, and I did in fact at the time say that I hoped I would be able to come back to Riga in January 2015 in order to open the Latvian presidency, but I wasn't sure that that would be the case when I was campaigning in this country in April 2014. But I am here now as President of the Commission, and I'm very pleased to be here. We, the Prime Minister and I, have gone through the different parts of the Latvian presidency's work programme. It's the first time that Latvia has held the presidency of the EU, and very often we see how far the smaller countries are able to act when they have the presidency. As head of my own country, Luxembourg, I was in charge during 5 presidencies, and as I've often said, I think that sometimes presidencies run by smaller countries are more successful than those of larger countries, because the smaller countries seem to concentrate on the main issues rather than dealing with smaller everyday events. I'd like to note that the Prime Minister and Latvia are very well prepared in order to deal with this task. We heard from ministers this morning in the plenary, and at the moment there are bilateral discussions amongst ministers and the respective commissioners. These are ministers who are very skilled and they know their portfolios well. So we have no concerns there at all, and that's even more because the priorities of the Latvian presidency reflect very closely indeed those of the Commission itself, and are in fact able to put into practice the first parts of the Commission's work programme recently presented to the European Parliament. The investment plan is one of the focal points for the 6 months to come. This is something which we presented to the European Parliament in November. The Commission will be adopting in Strasbourg next Tuesday the legislative texts are concerned, and I was very pleased to hear the Prime Minister say that the presidency will do everything necessary to ensure that the instruments needed will be put in place as quickly as possible, so that they will be operational for July 2015, so that we can move on to put the investment plan into practice. So what I can say here is that this is going to make up a budgetary revolution in European terms, with a sea change in the way in which we carry out investments. 315 billion in investments will be undertaken, and this will be made possible by the presidency. We've talked about Ukraine, the Prime Minister and myself, and after an exchange of views, what I can say today is that the Commission has just decided to extend financial support made available to Ukraine, a country which needs to experience solidarity from other European countries. A decision was taken today to give an extra 1.8 billion euros to Ukraine, showing that European solidarity with Ukraine isn't just a dead letter. It is in fact something which reflects an everyday reality. And I was very pleased to see that the Latvian government is supporting this gesture by the Commission. We now have a Latvian presidency, and I'm sure that we will see a great deal of potential from the Latvian side in organising our relations with Russia to make greater progress with that country than we did in the past. We also referred to a number of presidencies, both for the Latvian presidency and for the Commission. We talked about subjects relating to digital Europe, and in this 6-month period, we'll be putting the first Commission proposal on that subject on the table. We're going to look at the Energy Union as well, where the College of Commissioners will be adopting a general framework on the Energy Union at its meeting on the 25th of February, this too also being under the Latvian presidency. We're very pleased that together with the Prime Minister, we're able to launch the European Development Year. Europe is not an invention of history which concentrates just on itself, but also we take on board the rest of our planet. And I think that it's very good, therefore, that the European Development Year should be launched here tomorrow in Riga. So, in a nutshell, I'm very pleased to be here to have launched the first Latvian presidency of the European Union, together with the Prime Minister, a presidency which will be a symbol of reconciliation between different geographical areas in Europe. A NATO summit was already held in Riga, and the fact that we now have this Latvian presidency being launched is a very important point in history for Europe, and I'm sure that Latvia will step up to the plate.
Thank you very much. After Mr. Juncker announced that the Commission has found means 1.8 billion euros as a support to provide for Ukraine, I would like to express my gratefulness and satisfaction with how swiftly the Commission managed to bring it to life. Now it's just the 8th of January, and this has been already agreed upon. Thank you very much to the Commission for the constructive approach. Thank you very much. We have time for a couple of questions. I would like the journalists to first say their name and where they are from.
Monsieur le Président, Madame la...
Mr. President, Madam Prime Minister, I would like to ask what consequences, what conclusions need to be drawn from the terrorist attack? What are the political consequences? Is fighting terrorism just a purely national task, or is it a matter for the European Union as a whole? Do we need a political initiative in this field at EU level? Thank you.
I would like to inform you that yesterday, when I met with the journalists in Brussels, our Interior Minister, together with the high-level working party, assessed the tragic events in Paris. Today, together with the President of the Commission, discussed these themes, and we have come up with a whole list of measures to be taken on the European level. And I can assure you that the responsible ministers from the member states will work on these matters, and of course the Commission will coordinate with the responsible services in each one of the member states. Mr. Juncker can assure you that the Commission, together with the member states, will work closely together regarding these matters. I will not read out the whole list of actions we discussed that should be undertaken, but definitely actions need to be taken to avoid the terrorism destroying the trust we have in one another and the values we share.
Saying a moment ago that in Europe, it is time now for silence, not yet for action. My experience shows that one shouldn't react immediately to such terrorist outrages with new proposals or new legislation, because you can get it wrong either by going too far or not going far enough. The simple fact is that what happened in Paris has had, of course, an enormous impact. The Commission was proposing to present a new program to combat terrorism in the coming weeks. The existing program was concluded in December last. We're now talking about a new proposal, and for that purpose we will be exploring a number of avenues. We won't go into the details now, that would be premature, but we will be closely looking at how to improve cooperation between member states. Combating terrorism is first and foremost a matter for each member state, but of course there have to be links between what the different national authorities are doing to ensure that we can be more effective in fighting terrorism, particularly when it comes to prevention. We need to take a proactive approach. We need to see how the Schengen system can be improved and made more efficient. We also need to improve cooperation between Europol and the various national agencies which fight terrorism. The Commission, following a debate in Council of the Foreign Affairs Ministers in February, in the light of this, the Commission will be making proposals to strengthen the fight against terrorism.
In the fifth row, Mr. in the green sweater.
Ian Traynor from The Guardian. There will be an upcoming meeting of a council for the Prime Minister this question. There will be an upcoming meeting of Justice and Interior Ministers. Would you expect some real results at that meeting in response to the events in Paris? And also, for example, a European PNR system on passenger air travel information has been resisted by the Parliament. Would you expect now for that parliamentary opposition to be overcome?
Next week, I will have discussions with the European Parliament. When we met in December in the European Summit, Mr. Schulz addressed the Council regarding the PNR and asked the Presidency and the Commission for help to achieve an agreement with the Parliament. Next week, I will address the Parliament regarding these matters once again. But as Mr. Juncker already said, the Commission will come up with new proposals, and to the extent of what is possible, in each one of the ministerial meetings, these questions will be reviewed, but especially in the June Euro Summit, I expect that the European internal security strategy will be renewed. Until then, several ministerial councils will review smaller questions related to security. Thank you.
Paldies. Mums ir laika.
Thank you. We are out of time, and the next press conference will be with the participation of the Foreign Affairs Minister of Latvia and the High Representative Federica Mogherini. Thank you very much to Prime Minister Laimdota Straujuma and the Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. Thank you.
Merci pour l'information, madame. So.